Welcome to the Urban Wine Club podcast. Pour a glass, sit back, and enjoy the show.
We're live.
Hey, Ari, how are you, brother? What's going on out
Hey,
there?
how you doing?
Good, brother. It's that time again for our Urban Wine Club sipping session.
Sipping session. I like it.
Yes, that's where we come together and we just grab something and crack it open and get to know it and understand a little better from our perspective.
I am completely down with that. So let me ask you, you sent me wine because I'm right now down in DC. You are in Boston. We are doing this virtually. And even if we were next to each other, we'd still be doing it virtually, probably. So it
Absolutely.
makes no difference. But you sent me a beautiful wine. I'm going to pour some right now. Tell me
Excellent.
what we're drinking, what we're sipping in
So
this session.
it's that time of year again, right? Where the tagline "Rosé all day" is back in effect, and the rosé factor is continuously growing, right? And many folks are either way into it, want to get into it, have no idea, and some folks don't even know that it exists, believe it or not.
Well, let me
So
say this. Let me say this. We touched a little bit upon this because I'm a complete, newbie when it comes to the rosés. I have my own thoughts about it, but we touched a little bit upon it in one of our podcasts. I believe it
yes,
was with Patrick Walsh. Right?
it was.
So everybody out there, if you're watching this and you want to learn a little bit more, but I have a whole lot of thoughts on rosé, and I feel like I'm a little bit misinformed or just ignorant. So I need you to basically talk to
Break it
me,
down.
tell me.
Absolutely. So, rosé, let me put it out there first of all. Rosé has been around forever. Rosé has been an equal category from red and white over the decades, the centuries. It's just that in the last 30 years here in our market in the US, rosé had fell off the earth for us here because of a little funny wine back in the days that was accidentally created. That was a certain circumstance in California, not to get too deep into this, but long story short, there was a harvest in California back in the early 80s, I think. And I think it was from the Gallo family. Whoever was
That's not
responsible.
what the movie Bottle Show, was it?
No, it had no reference to what I'm about to say with rosé.
Okay. I
But
just
this is
remember something about something happening in California back in the day.
Yeah, yep, definitely. But in relation to rosé, back then there was this certain vintage. The team that was responsible for picking the grapes back then kind of miscalculated the days they were supposed to pick. And what basically happened was the grapes stayed on the vines a little too long. It was a very hot summer, so the grapes got too much sun exposure. They kind of got burnt, if that makes any sense. Burnt to the point where they weren't really of quality to use for their production. So they had tons and tons of grapes that they just couldn't use. So instead of basically, getting rid of it, one way they want to salvage it was they came up with this idea. They want to break down this grape juice with a little bit of sugar and coloring, and they came up with this idea called white Zinfandel.
So basically, this came out of necessity to save like a large production of grapes.
Yes, pretty much. I mean, there's more to it, but this is just
Yeah, the simple,
the simple
yeah,
version.
too
So,
long didn't
but
read version.
right, and to their surprise, this actually became the new sensation in the wine business, and white zin became very trendy. And as white zin started to grow in popularity, rosé just started to take a back seat, and it was almost forgotten. So for the last 30 years, rosé wasn't really that big of an option. It wasn't really in demand. So we saw very little selections in the retail level and restaurants. Fast forward now, for the last 7 years, we're a different society. We're different consumers. We're very adventurous. We explore. We self-educate. We're constantly reading up on things, and we're traveling a lot more. Well, we were, but
And
but
we will be again soon, hopefully.
absolutely. So, rosé started to kind of reappear, and it's become trendy. And a lot of wine drinkers who are actually experiencing rosé are actually understanding that it's great wine. They didn't think they would like rosé, but they've been proven wrong because the sales dictate the popularity. Where every year, sales of rosé are growing tremendously. So Rosé's out here. It's going to be for a while. I don't see it going away, even though certain critics like to refer to it as a trend or some kind of like gimmick, but it's not. It's a category that's been well respected around the world, especially in France, where rosés, have long history. I think that it's refreshing that we're going to see more and more rosés come to the market. Now,
Well, can we get to tasting some of this? Because I'm like all in
absolutely,
right now.
absolutely. So, have you ever wondered what rosé is?
It's funny because this is gonna sound dumb, and it probably is dumb. And again, I'm like
Well, that's what
kind of wine newbie,
most
but
folks will
like
say, just like we did.
the just the simple fact that it's a pink wine just
Yes.
makes me think that it's like everything you were saying. Like it's not like a real wine. It's not like something to be taken seriously. It's like something like young girls when they turn 21 are wanting to drink, like stuff like that. I know it's false at this point. We've talked about it a few times to teach me, but that
Right.
was like my initial.
Well,
So I always
nine,
wondered, like, what is it? Did they make it pink on purpose, be pink, or is that the natural color? Like, I don't know.
so to your your comments at the moment, most folks are probably thinking the same as you. If not, some folks think that rosé are sweet wines when they're actually not. They're dry.
Yeah, I
Rosés
always thought it was
are
sweet before.
because of the color, right?
Yeah,
And then most folks might think that rosés are a blend of white and red wine. Not necessarily. 90+% of the rosé productions strictly come from red grapes. So, let's put it out there. Rosés are made from red grapes. The difference between rosés and red wines comes down to no more than just what's called skin contact. And what does that mean for all our listeners who are watching this segment? Basically, when a winemaker decides that they're going to make some rosé out of their red grapes,
yeah.
is they take a batch of those grapes and set them off to a different room or a different section of the winery. And then the rosé production begins. They take the red grapes, they press them through a machine. After the grapes get pressed, the juice and the skins go off into a vat altogether, skins, seeds, and the juice. They start the fermentation. So the wine's fermenting. And then after about 2 to 3 days, they stop the fermentation process. They remove all the skins out and then they continue fermentation again. So basically, the juice only had about 2 to 3 days for skin content. And then when it comes to red wine production, same scenario. Let's go to the red wine production room. They press the grapes, the skins and the juice go into their vats. Then they start the production of fermentation. But here what happens is they leave the skins in for about 6 to 8 weeks. So this is 2 to 3 days of skin contact. Red wines have 6 to 8 weeks of skin contact. So for each
Wow.
day that goes by, the darker the juice gets because it's extracting the color or the pigmentation from skins and it's making the wine darker, but it's also extracting the compounds that are found in skins that are known as tannin. And those tannins or compounds is what contributes to the structure of wine. So when we sip on rosé, it's very light, crisp, and refreshing. It's because it has minimal contact of compounds from the skins. I need a first sip as we get into this.
Let's do that.
Cheers. So I like to refer to rosé as it's a red wine that drinks like it's white.
Yeah,
Basically.
that makes sense.
The textures are different than red wine. The textures resemble white wine, but yet it's made from a red grape.
It's good. I like it.
It's very inviting from the aromas because rosés have very delicate aromas and they lead into very crisp textures and flavors. And they always have like a clean finish.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I've noticed. Very clean.
right? And because of that, it makes it very easy to enjoy rosé.
Oh yeah.
Now, a lot of folks in the beginning are a little confused and they're not sure if they like it because they're not, they don't know what to expect. So it takes a little time for rosé to grow on folks. That's what I
I'll tell you
noticed.
this. Forget like professional wine drinkers. The common person out there, and I use myself as this example, I feel like this is super easy to adjust to and to like. And there's a lot of like deep, bold reds that for me took a long time to get used to and to learn about.
Oh,
And to
definitely.
get my palate like used to. So I feel like I'm the opposite. I feel like this is the type of thing that I could like in 1 second be like, this is great. And the reds are like, oh, that's a little harsh. I don't know
agree.
if I like this.
That's a very good point because if you put this into perspective, the very first thing we experience is sensation before flavor. So the second wine hits your palate, it's all about how dry, sweet, or crisp it is before you actually pick up the actual flavor of the wine. So if a wine is complex and the sensations are off, psychologically, you're going to be distracted of how it tastes. So the textures in rosé are very soft and inviting. And you're right, red wine takes a long time for certain folks to get into.
Oh, for sure. Like I just couldn't drink red wine. I was drinking white wines, not really rosés. Rosé is a little more recent, not too recent, but more recent than red and white. But I started off with white, and reds took me a while to get to.
So your
This
palate is
from the first
developing.
day. From the first day I tried rosé, I liked it. I think it was probably at one of your rosé parties that will go down in history as great parties.
All right, I like to call it an event. You'd like to call it a party.
I think it was a party for me and an event for you.
That's right. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of rosé because it's a wine that can pretty much be served anytime, anywhere. Doesn't matter the season. It doesn't matter what you're eating. They're so versatile and they're so inexpensive that's why even though it's kind of quirky and so forth, rosé all day does have some truth to it. Like you can drink it anytime, anywhere.
So there's no like it doesn't have to be with specific thing. You can pair it, I'm sure, but like it
Oh,
doesn't have to
definitely.
be.
It doesn't have to be, but obviously rosé can enhance certain dishes, but rosé can also be that happy medium for many things. Or
Do you,
whether
do you find when you're pairing rosé, do you tend to pair it with things that go more with whitish wines or reddish wines? Or does that make
um
no sense?
so definitely anything that's recommended to pair with white, rosé can step in there really easily. Then when you move up the scale of textures and flavors of food, you really can get pretty adventurous and start dipping into meats with rosés. Because if you think about it, we've always been told, you need to pair your meats with reds and so on, but not necessarily. It all depends on how are you preparing that dish. Usually meats are grilled, so they're either in a broiler, whether they're in a pan, whether they're on your barbecue grill. But red meat, to my senses, is basically, unless you just season it very, with salt and pepper, there's not much flavor to meat unless there's a little bit of fat to it. So because it's very almost neutral in flavor, rosés, work perfectly with red meat if you enjoy red meat. But
I mean,
when you
I could
move
see
in,
it.
when you move into then braising and barbecuing, that's a whole different world. Then you're gonna lose. But if you're just grilling your meats, whether they're red meats, pork, poultry, rosé can pretty much be served with all of that, all of the above.
But
Yeah.
this, what wine, what rosé is this one
So
specifically?
so we're having a French rosé, and the French are known for making very good rosé. Even though rosé is made all over the world, in Italy as well, Spain, Greece, what have you, the U.S. The culture in France has been pretty dominant when it comes to rosé. And here, I particularly chose a rosé from someone that I'm a big fan of. This comes from a gentleman by the name of Sacha Lachine, who is French. His family is from Bordeaux. His father is a very well-known producer in Bordeaux, Chateau Lachine. And the cool thing about Sacha Lachine is not that he makes just amazing wines, but he's got roots in Boston. He came here in the 80s, and he studied at Boston University. And while
There
he
you
was
go.
studying at BU, he actually worked as a sommelier at Anthony's Pier and Four in the waterfront, if you remember that
Connect to the Greek
restaurant,
too.
right? So there you go. So he's got some strong roots here in Boston, and he visits every so often. His heart's still here in Boston, but he's been in the environment and culture of making fine wine because of his dad. And along the way, he had this vision that wine shouldn't be so complicated for folks. Wine should be made easy to drink. And he
I
has
agree.
this tagline called "Life is easy as is to drink wine." Life should be easy to drink wine. So he came out with this series that he's put together. It's been around for the last 10 years, and they call them the chicken wines. So he makes a white, a red, and a rosé. And on the label, it references, on his red, there's a rooster. On the white, there's a chicken. And on his rosé is a chick. So the one that we're having here is Le Poussin Rosé, which translates to the pink chick. right? And it's a blend of two red grapes. The grapes that they use is Grenache and Cinsault, which are local varieties that grow in the southern parts of France, all over the Languedoc and Provence area. And it's very, very classically styled rosé from that part of the world. And Sacha Lachine really knows how to produce everyday drinking wines that are very affordable and also delicious at the same token.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely
Cheers.
very nice. I like it.
And the cool thing is that, you know, we're talking about these wines, we're tasting together, but these are also wines that we believe in and we stand behind, and we put them up on our portal. So whenever our folks are watching our videos and our sipping session, you know, these wines are all available on our platform as well for ordering.
Yeah, yeah. On our website, on our app, everywhere you could find us, you'll find a link. If you guys are interested, I suggest very much so that you try this rosé, because it's super good, super good.
And the cool thing about the fact that we're doing this virtually, that I'm here and you're there, is that I don't have to share this bottle with you.
If I was there, you probably wouldn't be able to taste much of it, because I would have already gotten it.
Exactly. I know how you work, so this is cool.
I'm a notorious rosé fiend.
Oh yeah, notorious is the word. But yeah, Ari, I can't stress enough that I'd love more and more folks to start experiencing. It definitely should be a part of anyone's experience, as far as when those are getting into wine and they're enjoying wine and they explore, which is cool, because we see a lot of our members, we get a ton of emails all the time asking for recommendations, suggestions. And when we're sending out our subscription packages, you know, folks are getting rosés now into their boxes. The feedback has been,
Yeah, especially now, you know, the weather's opening up. It's nice. You want to sit outside on your deck and your back porch, what have you.
your
Crack open a
patio.
nice rosé.
Oh yeah, this is basically the answer to a lot of that, where folks are, you know, overwhelmed these days with, you know, there's so much to choose from. What are we going to have? What are we going to do? Try a rosé.
Quick question: what's the best way to enjoy rosé? Chilled, room temperature?
Chilled. The same way you serve white wine, you should serve your rosé. But here's a quick tip. The colder your white wine or your rosé is, it's going to be refreshing. It's going to feel good, but you won't get all the flavors out of that wine until the wine warms up a little.
So it shouldn't pass a certain temperature. It should just be lightly chilled.
It should be lightly chilled, but I'm not going to say that that should be the answer, because considering that we're going into the hot season and a lot of folks love cold beverages, it's fine. It's okay to have cold white wine and cold rosé because it feels good. But believe me, as soon as you're getting into that bottle, it's going to start to change. It's going to start to warm up a little bit, and you get more flavor. So for example, this bottle came out of the refrigerator once we first started, right? So it's been about 15, 20 minutes. So it's kind of warmed up a little, and I can taste a ton of flavor from what it used to be when I first pulled it out of the refrigerator. When I first pulled it out, crisp and refreshing and cold, so it felt good. But now I'm really getting all the flavors out of the wine.
Well, I'll tell you, without knowledge, just personal taste, I know that like whites and rosés that I've had like in the house,
Yep.
I like them lightly chilled, even if it's like really hot out. Because I don't know, for me, drinking like really cold wine just doesn't sound right to me.
Well,
I like it chilled though, but not cold.
but here's the thing: in the U.S., as consumers, we are a market of cold beverages. So we've been subject to drinking a lot of things cold.
Makes
So
sense. But
excellent.
we suggest
Lightly chilled. And you know what?
All right, my friend, let's have another sip.
Cheers.
Cheers to you. Wait, I gotta.
Cool. Well, that wraps up our segment on our sipping sessions here at the Urban Wine Club. We're definitely going to have a lot more to come. They're fun. Please, you know, email us with any questions after you view our segment. You can definitely order the wines in our segments right on our website and our app.
Subscribe to the channel. These will be on YouTube, but I'm sure they'll be on a bunch of other places. We'll figure that out. But on YouTube for now, on our app and on our website.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for watching. See you, Foti.
Take care, Ari.